Greetings, everybody. Welcome to week 5. I am feeling in a fall mood today. Also, I don't feel fit for human consumption. So I'm going to be a cute fox in a red hoodie on my pumpkin background, and it's going to be fabulous. All right. So we are entering week 5, unit 5, and I want to, as normal, go over the things that need to be done this week. And also to remind you that we will be having another workshop this week, tomorrow night, Tuesday evening, at 7 p.m. Eastern. And if you can make it live, you have an opportunity to ask questions and all that good stuff. If not, of course, it will be recorded and shared with you the day after, or maybe even the same day, since I'm the one doing them. Sometimes I get them out very quickly. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and take a look at Unit 5, which is all about awareness. So one of the things that we're focusing on this week is something that actually here in where I live in the state of Florida has become a little bit controversial, even though it probably shouldn't. And that is the concept of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Most business places, most employment opportunities around the world are committed to DEI, having a diverse workforce that includes equitable treatment for all workers and also inclusion of people of all different types. Part of that, of course, is knowing when and when we don't have bias. So we are going to also be learning about how to recognize bias this week. In addition to that, self-advocacy, which is a important skill to have. And then we're also going to be starting to do some use of research to support our opinion. So this week, as usual, go ahead and come through everything in order. So the first thing you'll want to do this week is tackle the readings and resources, including several chapters from the ebooks. And then there's also there's a poem and an article. And you're going to use one of those in your writing assignment this week. So you do want to make sure to read both of them because then you can pick which one that you want to focus on. There is a video of the poem that you can watch, which will also give you some insight into the person who wrote it, which is kind of cool to be able to see the person who wrote the poem talking about it and delivering it. Then we have some videos on diversity, equity, and inclusion. So make sure that you go through all of the readings and resources and then tackle the assignments. So as usual, there is a Unit 5 interactive exercise. Again, I would do that before I tackle either of the graded assignments. And then it'll be time for the discussion board. And then there's three assignments this week: the discussion board, a journal entry, and a written piece. So let's go through them one at a time. For the diversity, equity, and inclusion discussion board, share with the class the type of company you hope to work for in the future or your current career. What does diversity, equity, and inclusion look like at that company? Now, I know that several of you have talked about starting your own business. That's fine too. What would diversity, equity, and inclusion look like at your company? In your current job or a future one, you see there is room for improvements in the way DEI is addressed in the workplace. So, a little thought process here. If you need to make up a scenario, that's absolutely fine, but make one suggestion on a way to improve DEI in the workplace. How would you bring this suggestion to your new employer? Be sure to elaborate on why you think your suggestion will help or support the people who work there or the business itself. So I know that some of you don't have current jobs. Some of you have a past job that you could think about. If all else fails, think about some organization that you belong to or that you are a part of that could use some benefits in increasing their emphasis on diversity, equity, and inclusion. I would suggest a part of this discussion board would be to define DEI. It doesn't specifically say that, but that's a big part of what is sometimes missing in the discussions. For example, last week, or 2 weeks ago, was it last week or 2 weeks ago? I want to say it was last week when we were writing about goals. And a lot of people with the growth mindset question didn't really define growth mindset. And so it wasn't 100% clear from the answer, like how growth mindset played into the goal. So again, sometimes having a brief definition before you launch into the questions is a good idea. As usual, you will want to post your own response to the prompt by, say, Wednesday, and then have the rest of the week to do those required responses to others. Many of you are doing really well on those. Some of you are still struggling with them. My main suggestion is to aim for 3 to 5 sentences whenever you are responding to someone else, and make sure that it is specific to what they said and not just, this is great or attaboy, attagirl, whatever. It's hard. It really is hard. I know it's difficult sometimes to know what to say, but ask them some questions. And don't forget, if somebody asks you a question, especially me, answer it, which really mostly means even if you start on the discussion board early and you get all your required responses, make sure that you come back before the end of the week so that you can answer any questions. Okay, so next item is a new journal entry. And this one is about bias and self-advocacy. Journaling, of course, we know that this is a little bit more relaxed. The only people that see it are you and me. It's not public like the discussion board. But it is based on what you've learned during the week. So make sure that you do all the readings and resources and videos before you tackle this. So this week you were introduced to biases and stereotypes. Have you ever been stereotyped or judged based on the way you speak or look? Do you ever wonder what you might do if faced with bias, or if you felt you were being stereotyped unfairly? And a separate question is to consider the following scenario. You think you have been given an unfair grade, but are not sure why. How do you proceed? Share the steps you would take. So there's really two parts to this. I would have them in two completely separate paragraphs because they are related, but not. Like the first one is definitely about bias and stereotype, and the second one is about self-advocacy. So I would have those in separate paragraphs in your journal. That will also make it easier to write a well-developed journal. So this is a good thing. And then finally, we have the Unit 5 writing assignment, and this one is going to have a cited source. I mentioned earlier the sources that you will use are in the readings and resources folder. In this assignment, you will review either the spoken word poem or the article on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and create a 3-paragraph reflection on that article or poem by answering questions about the author's perspective. So let's take a look at the assignment requirements. This one is bigger than we've been used to. So make sure that you are doing all the things that are asked of you, because of course that's where people lose points unnecessarily. As long as you're doing what you need to do, you're going to get a good score. So keep that in mind. So in this assignment, you're going to read both of the items, like the poem and the article, and then make a decision which one you want to write about. Write 1 paragraph of at least 3 sentences to respond to each of the following questions. Your response must be a total of 3 paragraphs. I'm going to highlight that because this is where a lot of times people end up not getting a great score just because they didn't do what was asked. So it has to be 3 paragraphs. Each of those paragraphs has to have 3 or more sentences. And I would aim more for 5 sentences because that's more standard. But as long as it's 3 minimum, you're going to be in good shape. Each paragraph will focus on one of these three questions. So the first paragraph will focus on what is the author trying to say about diversity, equity, and inclusion. The second paragraph will be about, according to the writer, what is one way to validate diversity, equity, and inclusion. And then finally, what is one challenge the writer explores about diversity, equity, and inclusion? You do need a title page and you do need a reference page. The reference citations are available. I'll show you where to get those. But we're going to set that up right now in a Word document, and I am going to share the Word document with you as I usually do. Remember, double spacing, APA style, and of course, here is the rubric as usual. This breaks it down into what categories you need to do. All three of the questions need to be answered, et cetera, et cetera. So make sure that you take a look at that as well. I'm going to do something real quick. I'm going to copy these because I'm going to put these in the sample for you. So let me open that in Word. All right, so here is the sample for Unit 5. And of course, I just called it Unit 5 Writing Activity. You can have a better title than that if you'd like to. You will have 3 paragraphs. So I'm going to take this out for a second, and I'm going to put in those questions. I don't want them to have the bullets, but we're going to start a new paragraph for each one. Now, you don't have to include the questions in your paragraph, but sometimes it helps people to include the question and then it makes them answer them. So if it helps you to do that, you can certainly do that. Answer the question fully. Write at least 3 complete sentences. Oops, except I can't spell today. Be as specific as you can. Okay, so those are all very short sentences. Yours will be longer than that. But let me copy these. Actually, I think on the others, I'm just going to put some to where it'll look more along the lines of what you'll do lengthwise. Okay, so that would be a decent sized paragraph. Let's put one more here. Okay, looks good. Now, you do need a reference page. So this previous one did not have a reference page that we had a sample for. So we're going to insert a page break. And we are going to center and bold the term references, although you're probably only going to have one, but I'm going to go ahead and call it a references page because that's what it normally says. We're going to go back to the regular margin and we're going to create what's called a hanging indent. And let me just show you what that looks like. Okay, so in a hanging indent, everything after the first line is indented. So it's kind of the opposite of a paragraph. Up here, you notice that we tab over and we have indented the first line of paragraphs. So it's just the opposite of that. All right, but we have one of 2 things that we're going to cite. So we're going to go back to the course and we're going to get that citation. All right, so the first one is the poem by Jay Lissicott, and I'm going to click on this, and it should have the citation. It does not. Okay. All right, so we need to cite this source. We know, okay, here's the actual link. So I'm going to open that. and I'm going to share. I'm going to get the citation here. So we need the link, and I'm gonna open Scribber, which we've talked about before. Oops. I'm gonna do citation generator. Oh, I don't want MLA. I want APA. Oops. And put in my URL. All right, so here is my reference entry. I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it into my document, but I'm going to do what's called match formatting because I want it to keep the italics where the italics are. So this is the correct citation for this. And we're going to put a period at the end of it, and I'm going to show you the other one as well. So let's go get the article. Here's the article, and this one is in the, looks like does it have the citation? Should. Sometimes they're down at the bottom, so let me double check here. Top. Different sources have them placed in different places, but I'm not seeing it. So we're going to do the same thing we just did. We're going to get the reference from Scribber. The good news is I will have done this for you. So you guys will be able to just use what I have already done. So here's the copy to clipboard. We're going to copy that. Oh, it is. Okay. And then let's paste it in. Again, we're going to do match formatting because we want to have the hanging indent and italics. All right. This can go away. Now, if they were using both of these, which we won't because you're only going to use one of them, but if we were going to use both of these, we would need to move this one in front because alphabetical order. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'm going to save this, and I'm going to share this this file with you, so you will be able to have it already, and all you'll need to do is write out your 3 paragraphs, and everything will be ready to go. Okay. That's it for the week. I hope everyone has a great week 5, and I hope to see some of you, if not all of you, tomorrow night in the workshop. All right, everybody take care. Have a great one.